Hello and welcome to Health Innovators. I'm your host, Jonah Comstock, Editor-in-Chief of pharmaphorum. I'm joined today by Brian Quigley, CEO of QNovia, and Mario Danek, CTO of QNovia. Thanks for joining me this morning, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Tell me a little bit about QNovia, what you guys do, and what brings you. I should mention we're at Health 22 in Las Vegas. What brings you to the show?
Sure. So, QNovia, we're a venture-backed pharmaceutical company with a portfolio of inhaled therapeutics, and our lead candidate that we're developing is a prescription inhaled smoking cessation therapy. We also have application to improve treatment and outcomes in asthma, COPD, pain management, and all of that work is early stage. But really focusing on bringing a new therapeutic to the half of smokers who will try to quit this year to help them be more successful is what we're accomplishing first and foremost. So we're on that process. We're planning for our IND submission, and we'll begin human clinicals next year.
So this is a very old category. There's gums, there's patches, there's apps, which is newer. Tell me about this modality and what new things you think it'll bring to the table to try to help improve chances for smokers.
Sure. So it really starts with the fact that there's 40 million smokers in the U.S. Half of them will try to quit. The number one way in 2022 that smokers will try to quit is cold turkey. And that's because they have tried the patches and the gums, and they know that those are not as effective as they could be because the delivery of the drug has a very low and slow onset because it's either transdermal or buccal delivery. So our technology, because it's delivering the drug via inhalation, will really give the patient a better opportunity to deal with their cravings and withdrawals and stay through the regimen. So really inhaled delivery versus transdermal or buccal delivery of the patches and gums is the big benefit. And then on the pharmaceutical kind of prescription side, Chantix, which was the last innovation in the space 15 years ago, has well-documented side effects that scare patients away from using that therapeutic, even if it increases their chances of success. So ultimately, we do know that we can deliver the drug more quickly when the patient needs it and help them with their withdrawal symptoms, and that gives them the chance to really break free from their addiction.
So tell me a little more about the drug itself. I know that for a while, the standard of care here was really just almost like just smaller amounts of nicotine, right? And just weaning them off. Is this that, or is this something else? This is a real drug to kind of treat the symptoms of withdrawal?
No, this is a delivering to the patient a controlled lower amount of nicotine and helping them reduce their use over a 12-week use regimen. So the regimen is similar to what has been laid out in the process regimen that patients use for patches and gums, but now as a prescribed therapeutic, and it's a smart device and a connected device that actually controls the dose delivery to the patient and reduces it for them over the 12 weeks.
And does it look like a vape pen, or?
I'll show it to you.
This is where the video medium really shines.
Right. So this device is designed to have some of the form factors that smokers are used to. So it's hand to mouth. It has an interface for the patient to see where they are, how many days they've been in the therapy, the number of doses they have that day. And it does have a cartridge pod interface. So this is a sterilely filled, aseptically filled drug product containing cartridge. And actually this contains our proprietary nebulization engine, which is the core of Mario's invention, to aerosolize the liquid drug product and deliver it to the patient. So, and this, we don't think this looks like any cigarette. It's not any cigarette. And actually what our patients say is they want something that can be portable, but they also need to be able to have in their office or with their friends, and that is clearly distinguished as this is medicine. But that is the device.
Interesting. That's an interesting line to walk from a design standpoint. So I'd love to hear a little bit about how this was developed. We talk a lot about patient-centered design and hearing from the patient. The way you just described it, it sounds to me like that's something you guys believe in, trying to figure out like what people will actually use and respond to and adhere to.
Yeah, well, why don't I let Mario talk about that?
Sure. I think fundamentally we wanted to acknowledge that high adoption consumer products, successful ones like Juul or the e-vapor products, really nailed human factors and form factor. And so the genesis of, at the time, Respira, now rebranded as QNovia, was for me to really sort of look into these technologies, and then simultaneously also really focusing on the need to develop a technology that actually would pass the stringent safety standards of CEDAR. And so what this really sort of ended up becoming was this transformative process where I looked into how to deliver a laminar non-turbulent aerosol that would actually be able to be inhaled and then gradually, by way of alveolar diffusion, enter the bloodstream to replicate the PK values that are really necessary in order to achieve these step-down procedures over 12 weeks. But do it in a manner that replicates ease of use that people are accustomed to. When you look at oral cue-induced behaviors, hand-to-mouth action, those type of things are often left wanting in traditional NRTs. And so that was really the genesis of trying to come up with something that, from a form factor perspective, was ultra portable, practical, completely orientation agnostic. This is the first nebulizer that is actually not gravity fed, so it will fire in any direction being held, while delivering a laminar aerosol, which lends itself to much better efficacy and deposition rates, etc.
So you mentioned that smoking cessation is step one, but you see a future in this in various kind of respiratory conditions. Now, that's a different therapy approach, right? You're not trying to wean someone off of something. You're more taking the place of like a rescue inhaler, or like I can't remember what the other kind of inhaler is, but a regular. So how will that device, the therapy, change in that regard, and what does that future look like?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Sure. So, I think that as we look at other indication areas, we filter through kind of three lenses. So the first is because of the precise dose control and the ease of use of this, we say, well, where are indication areas where compliance and adherence are challenges, right? Where can a device that is easier to use, doesn't require maintenance or cleaning, like this one, can improve patient outcomes by having better adherence and compliance? So that's kind of the first lens we look at it. Second, at these other indication areas. The second is, where is delivery via inhalation critical, or where can we take an API in a drug and use that route of administration to bypass first pass metabolism to either eliminate side effects of other delivery methods of the drug, or to have the speed of the release and drive better patient outcomes. And the last is, once we do those two steps, is what are the APIs that can be formulated in a stable environment and then delivered via an aerosol in this platform. So when we do that scan, that leads us to the indication areas that we've identified. So asthma, COPD, pain management, migraine relief are areas, as is our depression. And because we're not in the business of developing new molecules, everything we're doing, we want to either be able to have a route to market through either the ANDA or the 505(b)(2) process with the FDA, because that's what 505(b)(2) is the pathway for NRT. That's a capability we have and a knowledge set that we have to pursue. So, that's our lens on the other indication areas. Those indication areas, we're at the benchtop stage where we've identified the APIs and kind of beginning the formulation work. But we see that there'll be a robust part of our pipeline as we continue to advance through the NRT and develop those drug products as well.
So let's talk about health a little bit. This is a conference that my impression is it's gotten more and more sort of friendly towards and interested in sort of the life sciences side, the pharma side. You guys are also very much a device company. How do you see kind of what made you want to come here? What are the opportunities here for you, and who are you looking to meet? What are you looking to learn?
Yeah, there's just so much innovation in the health technology space. And I think one of the reasons we like coming to health is, you get to see what are all the problems other people are solving. Because I think, in this community, I do believe that, you can learn from other people. Obviously, you want to understand, because this is a, connected device. How are other people approaching those problems, making those connections? And because I think we can really learn from talking to other companies. And obviously, this is a great forum from an investor networking perspective. There's a great group of venture investors who are here, which is also part of what we're doing. And building those relationships with people we know and building new relationships as well, so we can continue to develop our technology. So really seeing the innovation in the landscape to help really advance our own strategy, and also continue to build out our network from an investor perspective.
You guys consider yourselves a startup?
Yeah.
As a startup, as innovators, do you? I mean, a lot of people are always asking sort of that question of, are you looking for an exit, or are you looking to kind of become a permanent player and grow into a larger company? What's your kind of roadmap there, and how do you think about that when at a place like this, when you're meeting kind of all the different stakeholders in the industry?
Yeah, I think it starts with our primary mission is to save people's lives. And that's led first and foremost by the smoking cessation indication, given the opportunity there. Then how we do that is, I think, really the question that you're asking us, which is, well, we can either do that ourselves and scale our company, build a full commercial capability to go to market, but also at the same time, I think we understand that having a partner in the pharmaceutical route to market capability that can partner with us and really get our technology in the hands of the millions of patients who need it is also an option that we have. For us, I think it's too early for us to decide what makes the most sense. But as we continue to develop, I think we have robust relationships with many companies who are interested in inhaled therapeutics, in the smoking cessation opportunity, and ultimately, we'll decide what is the best way to get this product into the hands of the patients to really help solve their problem. So I think we're agnostic, but I do believe that partnerships add a lot of value. From a startup perspective, de-risks execution. Just the drug approval process itself has a great deal of complexity that we have to manage. So de-risking the actual route to market, with a partner is very interesting. So we'll see. We'll make that decision when the opportunity presents itself.
Is there a digital aspect to the product at all? I mean, does it connect to an app? Is there something you guys think about? Especially, I would imagine, going to these talks and all the stuff about digital therapeutics, it's something that would be on your mind at least.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So I think the way we think about it really is it's tied both to the NRT as well as our larger API expansion strategy, which is fundamentally, when we look at daily control of medications, that entire landscape roughly suffers from about 40% of patient misuse. And so what we're looking at is what are the numerous ways that we can actually dramatically increase adherence and compliance. One, in part, it's driven by form factor. The other part of it is digital. The form factor part, this is the let's call it the nebulization engine that's contained in the cartridge is part of the disposable element. So traditionally, patients have to resign themselves to cleaning and maintaining these devices. If they do not do so, the perforations in the mesh get clogged and less medicine is delivered. So the actual treatment is much less efficacious. Simultaneously, the digital aspect allows us to do things like track things in real time, disseminate potential data to the patient, the actual end user, as well as to providers, physicians, and clinicians. And I think that the way we're looking at, and also one thing I wanted to mention was support prompts. So I think that across the indication areas, support prompts like, congratulations, Susan, you're 17 days smoke-free in addiction behavior medicine is really going to matter. How we inculcate some of those device features and digital trends, digital elements in other APIs, in other indication areas, I think we have yet to decide. But fundamentally, what we are exploring are potential companion apps, the future of potential digital therapeutics in combination with our combination medical device. So we are really thinking about this digital tech, health and data is obviously the next frontier, and how we translate that into practice, I think, is really going to be fundamental to increasing a lot of the adherence and compliance rates. So I don't know if I addressed the question entirely, but.
So what are some of the kind of larger industry trends you guys are seeing here, are thinking about, what maybe around digital therapeutics, maybe around med device? What do you think is kind of, we should be looking for in 2023 in terms of how the market's going to shift or change, either on a technical side or on a more of a market money incentives kind of side?
You want to start?
Sure. So on the technical side, I think we are seeing, again, there is a massive acknowledgement in terms of human factors, which these days is not just solely resigned to simply the expression or design of the medical device or the drug itself, or how it's used, or what the use instructions are, but how it is sort of intertwined with the IoT aspects that we've seen in the consumer landscape, right? So I think what we're seeing is, in healthcare, we are seeing the consumerization of medical technologies. Sort of, people have, over the last 15, 20 years, the advent of the mobile phone, really become accustomed to being connected. And the healthcare industry at large has kind of been a laggard when it comes to, personal medications or personal use. Obviously, in the healthcare setting, bedside machinery, highly advanced. But when it comes to, daily control of medications, when it comes to medical devices to treat chronic management, the medical device industry is still a bit nascent there relative to what's been done in the consumer space. So I think there's an acknowledgement there that there are ways to imbue these technologies with a data strategy to, again, drive compliance and adherence, which really leads to health outcomes and improving those, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think there's three things. Big data and the power of data. The second is, I think to what you were just saying, patients are consumers, and consumers of their own health, and they want to make informed choices, and that trend is important. And I think the last aspect is, how are we reducing the cost of care to patients, regardless of their circumstance. I think are big things that a lot of people here are focused on, that we think a lot about too. Because as we think about our indication areas, those are very important things. The smoker is an underserved population, is lower income, and kind of left behind. I think they, when we talk to the patients, they feel left behind. And so those trends we're seeing here, a lot of people are focused on. So our question is, how do we apply those trends and position them to make progress against them in our indication areas?
Great. I have one more question. I'll let you guys go. I know we've got this show starting up real soon. When I think about medical devices, consumer-facing medical devices, and sort of what the future looks like there, especially around digital and data and some of the things you guys mentioned, I really think a lot about the CGM space in diabetes, just because there's been such a huge transformation in the last 5-10 years, and because it became kind of such an interesting almost arms race with the different form factors, Abbott and Medtronic and Dexcom. And I always wonder, when will we start to see that same sort of thing in other chronic conditions that have similarly large engaged patient groups and similarly kind of benefit from, I guess, that kind of combination of digital tech and med tech. So thinking about the respiratory space, thinking about some of this as we work on, what do you think? Why isn't it we haven't seen that sort of model replicated more? And when will we?
It's a great question. I think a lot of it is driven by the indication and the patient experience, and how does their need for care and how they get care kind of mesh in their real life, right? And so if you think about diabetics, right, in some cases, if you're a daily controller medication, how that fits into your life is a little bit different than someone who needs to constantly monitor their glucose levels. But that being said, I think the only reason it hasn't happened is people don't see the opportunity. But I think when you talk to patients, all patients want better outcomes, a better experience, and better control of their health. And so the example you use, where we're seeing this technology really come together, I think is just the beginning. And I think that's why we're focused in that space, because across the different indication areas, every patient should have that opportunity to to manage their own health and have the data and the insights to feel good about how they feel and the treatments they have at their ability. So I think a lot of it is it's not the first obvious opportunity, but that's why, and especially at an environment like health, there's so many companies who get to focus on, hey, what are those what seem like small opportunities but are incredibly important opportunities to those patients.
Yeah. Great. Well, thank you so much, guys. Really great chatting with you, and good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.